Good morning. This is Tanny Reed Walker. I am a counselor with FCSS, and this is Monday Morning Live with Tanny. Today, I am excited to introduce to you a book I received. I got it recently. It's called, let's see here, Paradoxes of Mourning. It is written by Dr. Alan Wolfelt. He has a Center for Loss and Transition in Colorado, and I had an opportunity to train with him and one of his trainings so far. He is a fantastic, fantastic human being. His whole life has been dedicated to working with individuals experiencing grief and loss and life transition, and he really affected my practice many, many years ago, helping me with a framework of what he calls companioning through grief. So he doesn't see grief as an illness or something to be fixed, he sees it as a journey. And that has spoken to me over the years. I have never found another framework that was felt so real and so true. And I highly recommend his books and his trainings. His live trainings are fantastic. So anyway, today we're going to start with the book again, Paradoxes of Mourning. You can order it through Amazon. You can also order it through the website, the Center for Loss and oh boy, transition. That's what it is. So I like the name Paradox of Mourning because it's so confusing going through grief and loss and mourning, and we don't have a guide or a framework to talk about it a lot of the time. And even though I've been working with grief and loss for a long time, this book is giving me another way, another language to use when talking with people that I care about, whether they're family members or clients that I'm working with, or even like interpreting my own experience of grief. The three um, the three paradoxes that he talks about are saying hello before you say goodbye, making friends with the darkness before you can enter the light, and you must go backwards before you go forward. So those are the three paradoxes. Today, I'm going to talk about the first. So he calls it a truth. And over the next 3 weeks, I will go through all of them. I highly suggest purchasing the book. He's going to go into it in way better detail than I'm going to. I just want to give a highlight to each of the sections so that it's kind of like a book review for you to choose to get it, or help you have a language to talk to your family or your friends, or if you decide to go into a grief group or have a grief counselor. It's just some more ways to be able to express this really difficult feeling and situation that you're going through. So, you must say hello before you can say goodbye. Saying hello to love and saying hello to loss. So when you meet somebody for the first time, what do? You say hello. If you meet somebody for the 100th time, you still say hello. And then when we part, we say goodbye. Some people say see you later because they're suspicious around the words goodbye, because goodbye can be really final. And when somebody dies, the goodbye is very final. And the hello that we're talking about here is saying hello to the loss, saying hello to this next step in your journey as you say goodbye to the life that you had with your loved one. You're going to be working on saying hello to this new life, and it's a process. It's full of a million hellos. I'm going to actually read directly from the book. There's this one part, he says, "We are not above or bigger than death. Maybe only after exhausting the search for understanding why someone we love died can we discover a newly defined why for our own life. In my experience, understanding comes when we surrender. Surrender our need to compare our grief. It's not a competition. Surrender our critical self-judgments. We need to be self-compassionate. And surrender our need to completely understand, because we never will. The grief that touches our souls has its own voice and should not be compromised by our need for comparison, judgment, or even complete understanding." I love that this is full of compassion, not just for ourselves and our grief, but compassion for other people in their grief. I often have come upon people that are saying things like they need to move on. Why is it so hard for them? Don't they understand? This is not like they shouldn't be feeling this way. It wasn't that big of a deal. Was that person really that big of a deal in their life? We have no idea. We can't compare. We can have the same person die, like the same person in a whole family, and everyone is going to react differently, and we can't compare. We shouldn't judge ourselves. We shouldn't judge each other. We should have compassion, and we won't ever truly understand why they're gone. And sometimes we don't even fully understand why we're reacting the way we are. We're just human. So the first hello is hello to loss. The second hello is the saying hello to the physical reality of death. And that can be done in so many ways. In the olden days, people used to physically care for the body, tend to it, dress it, anoint it. They would sit with it in their parlor, on their dining room table. People would come and see the body. They would take a journey with the body. Sometimes burial grounds were far away. There was so much physical connection and like our physical work in the reality of that new experience. Now we don't have that as much. If we're lucky, we have viewings. I've had lots of people tell me that viewings were really important. And I, even as a grief counselor, avoided viewings like crazy until a few years ago. And the viewing was actually peaceful, and I could see the reaction of people around me with that experience of seeing that body. And it was really powerful. And from what I'm gathering from talking to people, is that physical connection with the reality of the death really impacts your experience after the death. My husband even let me share that his dad was just above the actual hole of the grave, and he said I needed them to open it up one more time so he could see that it was his dad going down, because it helped him really cement the reality. And I've talked to other people that didn't get a chance to see any of the physical reality of the death, and the process is so much more different. There's more searching for that, and sometimes there's like more dreams that maybe that person is still here. They're just like it's some sort of terrible joke that they're not actually dead. Um, it's really important to have the physical reality. And also for animals and for pets. I've heard recently that the funeral homes are starting to allow pets to come in because they too have lost somebody super important to them and they don't know if they're coming back. So having them come and view the body is really important for their saying hello to the physical reality of that person being gone. It's really it's really something our society, in my mind, should be really looking at and taking more seriously. So the next hello, after you've said hello to the physical reality of the death, is saying hello to the reality of the death after the funeral. And this is one that is full of 100 million hellos. And it's very difficult to get through if you're not supported and if you're trying to hide it. This one is full of evading the reality and confronting the reality. Our brains and our hearts cannot be bombarded constantly with the reality, this new reality of this person being gone. But it comes at us all the time. In the mail comes and there's going to be reminders. Some people have to do paperwork after for like months and even years that constantly reminds them. It might be a role like if you're the person that does, not the person that does repairs in your home, and suddenly something breaks and you have no idea who to call. You're facing that reality that that person is gone. You're saying hello to the new reality. It's a really, really hard thing to do, is to say hello to all of these new realities. I like this quote. It's nature made us feel so that we could evolve. And it's by David Rico. And it's that knowing that these feelings are very important. It's very important to our evolution of who we are in this life that we're living. And it's really important to express those feelings outwardly. So in my first video, I had talked about how grief was the feelings and the experience we're having, and mourning is moving it out. Yes, charisma, definitely those first birthdays, first Christmas, first new season, all of those things are hello, hello to this newness, well, loss of transition, loss of traditions. Like sometimes if a child has lost their parent or you've lost a spouse and you used to go camping every year in the summertime and suddenly that person that did those things is not here anymore and you're like, well, now what are we going to do? It's saying hello to that newness. Thank you for that. So some of the ways to process that, to say hello, to move that out, are journaling, crying. Crying releases the chemicals that help our brains change. You can participate in a support group. There's Sometimes there's in-person support groups. I know there's support groups online. You can have informal support groups and formal support groups. You could see a grief counselor, such as myself. FCSS has several counselors that can work with grief. Displaying photos and other tangible reminders of the person that died. Some people have special sections of their house, like a shelf or a cabinet that has reminders of that person. Quilts. My husband's grandma made some blankets, crocheted some blankets, and so we've kept those. And they're not always out, but every time you open the cupboard, they're there, and you can see them. I wear my great grandma's opal ring because we had birthdays super close together. And yeah, I think about her pretty much every day because I see it every day. And she's been gone for like 25 years. So having those reminders is really powerful. And it's a great way to continue mourning and saying, even just saying hello to the love you still have for that person. You can create artwork. Some people can create beautiful art. You can do poetry or clay or paintings. There's all kinds of ways to express those feelings. Tattoos. Yes, Prisma. Tattoos are a great way to honor and have that reminder all the time. I've known people who love having their tattoos because people will ask about them. And then they get to talk about the person that they love, and they get to talk about their name and how much they love them and what was great about them, and then the pain of the loss. And yeah, that's a very physical reminder. There's also jewelry you can make from ashes, and I've heard about Christmas ornaments. There's so many ways to have that honoring. And then volunteering can be important. If someone that you love volunteered by making blankets for newborn babies in the hospital, maybe you want to pick up that. Or they were somebody who maybe struggled with addictions and you wanted to help with that community, or so many things that you can do to honor that person and physically move out. I know people that have volunteered for women's shelters. There's just so many beautiful ways to mourn and to honor the love that you have for that person. And the last one is I like to talk about is make use of the ongoing rituals. So, Prisma, you mentioned birthdays and Christmas and the new seasons, and maybe you have rituals that you want to do for those people during those times. A special ornament that you want to hang up on the tree, and their favorite Christmas song, or the first campfire of the season. I know some families that they go on hikes that their loved one liked to go on. Some people, oh my gosh, there's so many things. There might be, you want to celebrate their birthday still and you get a cake. Those ongoing rituals are really important. I actually used to watch Days of Our Lives, a soap opera, and every Christmas, all of the characters that have ever been on the show get their Christmas ornament put up on the tree, and it makes me bawl every time. I haven't watched it for years, but I did, and it was really, really powerful. And it's a show. So the ritual is really important for humans. Christmas says we are going to do a Day of the Dead in our house so we can make space for our loved ones at our dinner table and honor them. Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I love that creativity. People are so creative, and you know yourself and your family and your loved ones best. So thank you for sharing that. So the other thing that I wanted to say is the next one is saying hello to the new self you are becoming. When someone dies, you can lose some of your identity. So if you were a spouse, you can lose that designation of being a husband or a wife. You feel if you've lost a parent, you might wonder, like, am I still their daughter or their son? You could lose your best friend, your grandparent. You lose a piece of who you are, and you have to learn new things about yourself. So you might learn that you like walking the dogs when the other person used to walk the dogs all the time. You might learn something when you're volunteering. You could learn that you actually are able to talk to people about their grief and loss, and you had no idea that you can do that. Creation of that new self-identity can feel difficult. Sometimes people feel like they're not honoring the other person as they continue to grow in their life. But saying hello to that new you is important. And it's part of the reconciliation of grief. You don't heal it, you don't cure it. What you do is you reconcile it, which means to make your life good again. And that's really powerful. The last part of this chapter, is talking about saying goodbye. So when you're saying goodbye, it doesn't mean that your grief turns off. It doesn't mean that you're never going to love that person again. Saying goodbye is not a moment. It's ongoing. Lots of people think, oh, after the funeral, I'll be fine because I'll have said goodbye. But that's not what happens. Every time you have a new experience in your life, you're going to say goodbye again. So every new thing will always have that love attached to it and that feeling. It won't be as intense or last as long, but you can always expect that this journey of goodbye keeps going on, because that's how we are. We say hello to our new experience, and we say goodbye to the old experience, and we're always growing, and we're always changing. This chapter is really good. I'm looking forward to sharing the next one with you next week. Thank you, those that joined. Thank you, Prisma, for your comments. I appreciate all of you and your journey that you're on. I would really love it if you would share this video and let other people you know that might be going through grief and loss and want to learn more and have some support. I'd be really, really happy if you shared. So until then, please take care of you. Please be compassionate to yourself and to others, and know that your grief process is your own, and it doesn't need to look like anybody else's. Until then, until next Monday, take care. Thank you. Bye.